Well, I'd like to wish everybody a good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I called for this press conference so that I could discuss our ongoing crime initiatives, update the community as to my plan of action as the newly appointed Chief of Police, and outline my efforts to continually assess areas in which we can improve and make changes if needed. But before I begin, I'm joined by the Honorable Mayor Tyler, who would like to say a few words.
Thank you.
Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to thank you all for being here this morning. We want to say thank you, of course, to Chief Raymond for those words, and we just would like to remind everybody just over 2 weeks ago, I asked Chief Ben Raymond to step up as the Chief of Police for the Shreveport Police Department. And since then, we've had so many citizens who have inquired about what is it that he's going to do differently, and what strategies will he employ. How is he going to help curb the crime in the city of Shreveport? And so I've been saying to our citizens, please allow him more than 3 days to pull together his team and those men and women in the Shreveport Police Department. And as soon as he is able to assess some of the areas and look at the strategies and the plan that's in place, then he will certainly be able to share with the citizens in this community what direction he is going to lead the Shreveport Police Department. And so thank you for giving him 2 weeks, 2 whole weeks. And of course, as we have been engaged day after day, he's also had different groups to ask him when was he going to let the citizens in Shreveport know what direction. And so he said to me just a couple of days ago, we do have some different plans, and we do have some other strategies, Mayor Tyler, so we owe it to the citizens in Shreveport to let them know what direction we're headed. So today we are here doing just that. Before I get into 1 or 2 other remarks, I want to offer deep and sincere condolences and our prayers to the family of Mr. Robert Lee Perry, who was the victim of a violent act on yesterday afternoon. And we want that family to know that our police department is working diligently to make sure that we can bring to justice the individual responsible for that act. Chief Raymond will speak a little bit to that today. I know that the investigation is still ongoing. But already our men and women of SPD have begun making that difference and trying to bring to justice those who are offenders, those who are committing those acts of violence and other acts and criminal acts in our community. I want to thank Mr. James Flurry, our council member, who's here with us this morning. Are there any other council members or elected public officials, if there are any others? I would like to thank you, and I want to thank all of the other law enforcement agencies that are here this morning. I see our Sheriff Department, and we may have somebody from the Marshal's Department that's here. Anybody from the State Police Department? If not, we just want to say thank you to all of the first responders, our men and women who so bravely each day put their lives on the line to keep us safe in this community. Of course, Chief Raymond hit the ground running, meeting with his staff in the community to assess what is best for the city of Shreveport. And I'm so proud to stand alongside him today as he lays out plans for public safety and direction for the department during this period of transition. I want to assure you that our fine men and women in blue are working hard to protect our city each and every day. Although we are in transition, please understand that the command leadership of the Shreveport Police Department remains solid, with decades of experience in law enforcement and a high track record among agencies throughout this nation. Chief Raymond will build on what we already have and move the department forward with new and ongoing efforts to curtail crime in our dear city. His leadership, his commitment, and his dedication for nearly 19 years will serve us well with him at the helm of SPD. I'm certain that he will draw upon his skills over the years as a special response team member, a narcotics agent, patrol officer and an academy instructor to lead this department in protecting and serving the citizens of our great city. And at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to him, and he'll give you more details about some of his strategies. Again, thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you, Mayor Tyler. I've had an opportunity to meet with many of my coworkers over the last couple of weeks, and I've told them and would like to say publicly to all of you how proud I am to lead this department and to work alongside some of the best law enforcement officers in the nation. That being said, we can always improve and should always strive to find opportunities to do things better and more efficiently. My leadership philosophy is strongly rooted in leading from the front, not managing from above. Although there are administrative and managerial tasks associated with this job, I believe the best way to lead is to work alongside the men and women of this department. That way I can stay in tune with their needs and the needs of the citizens, as well as the challenges of this job. As long as I know the difficulties they face and am available to address their concerns, as well as those of yours, I can effectively lead. We're going to enhance our proactive policing initiatives. This is not a new approach, but a renewed focus on proactive efforts. Proactive policing means preventing crimes before they occur. It means talking to the suspicious people, stopping suspicious vehicles, being alert to opportunities for when crimes have occurred or about to occur or are occurring, and stop them at that point. Engage in conversation with citizens, business owners, and visitors. Encourage our officers to be more recognizable in their communities by being more visible and approachable, which is part of the overall community-oriented policing philosophy. These efforts will only be successful with the support of the citizens in the community, and I know we can count on it. We want to increase our boots on the ground, our patrol numbers. Putting more officers on the street will enable us to better address the needs of the citizens and be more proactive in our approach to crime. Patrol has been called the backbone of policing, and rightly so. We're fortunate to be able to assign officers to specialized functions in investigative and support roles. These jobs are essential to our overall crime-fighting efforts, but we are all patrol officers. All of us started in the patrol division when we began our careers, and I'm committed to putting more officers on the streets in order to better address our needs. Recruiting efforts. I'm going to evaluate the methods we are attracting qualified applicants. We've been doing an excellent job and have continued to increase our ranks. To date, we have approximately 30 more police officers than we had 3 years ago. Recently, we graduated 22 new officers and have been actively recruiting qualified applicants to start another academy class early next year. Our recruiting unit has processed over 500 applications in 2018 to find the best candidates for the department. And we're going to ensure that we're doing the best job that we can and make adjustments if necessary. In addition to increasing the numbers on patrol, I'm going to rely heavily on some of the units which specialize in proactive enforcement efforts. I'm going to continue to work with our law enforcement partners at the local, state, and federal level, as we have been doing, and look for opportunities to expand on those partnerships. Today, we are beginning a supplemental patrol program. Officers assigned to divisions outside of Uniformed Services Division, or patrol, will be scheduled to work patrol shifts as part of their duties. The duties will be shared amongst several units so as to not hinder the operational efficiency of the department in any way. Shift assignments are determined by analyzing crime statistics, and these additional officers are being allocated to those areas during identified times of the day where we have the most calls for service and reported Part 1 crimes. The supplemental patrol program is in addition to ongoing initiatives such as Operation STOP, Strategic Tactical Oriented Policing, and RID, Robbery Intervention Detail. These operations are staffed by officers working overtime hours above and beyond their normal tours of duty to help rid the city of the criminal element. The men and women of the Shreveport Police Department have done an outstanding job in working to reduce crime and the fear of crime. This year we are on pace to experience historic lows in categories of total robberies as well as residential burglaries. Historic meaning the numbers of reported crimes in these categories will likely be less than the numbers reported in 2014, which was the lowest period for reported Part 1 crime in our city since 1975. Additionally, we will come well under the numbers we saw during 2017 in many categories of reported Part 1 crime. Our officers have arrested more than 10,000 offenders in 2018. But let me assure you there is work to be done. My number one priority as your chief of police is to get violent criminals off our streets and put those behind bars where they belong. I will not tolerate the violence we have experienced in the last few years, and the number of homicides and shootings we have seen is unacceptable. Yesterday afternoon, our officers responded to a shooting in which a life was taken. Our investigators were able to quickly identify a suspect, a 16-year-old kid, who appears to be responsible for this horrific crime. As you know, within recent weeks, we have arrested a 13-year-old and another 16-year-old for a separate murder. Following these events, I am adamant about addressing juvenile crime. We cannot reduce crime through enforcement measures alone, and we will continue to work closely with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the State District Attorney's Office, and local city court officials, as well as a myriad of private and public entities committed to improving the lives of citizens and assisting with social and economic issues. We understand all these forces must work together if we want to successfully reduce crime, as well as provide opportunities to those who may otherwise be drawn to criminal enterprise. In closing, I'm here to serve and lead in whatever role God places before me. I'm honored to be your police chief and know that together we can get the violent criminals off of our streets. We need your support and your help. I have one more message for anybody listening who plans to commit crime in our city. We know what needs to be done, and your days are numbered if you continue to prey on the innocence of others. Thank you for your attendance this morning and for sharing my message with the public, and I'll take any questions you have at this time.
Chief
Yes, sir,
Raymond,
Mr. Pace.
congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
Thank you for your message. It's a message of hope, and our prayers go out to the latest victims. But I will say to you, do you know how many homicides we've had since January of this year?
54.
Okay, and counting. How many of those were justifiable?
I'm unsure of the exact number. 8, I believe.
Okay, is that on top of the 54?
No, that's inclusive
That
of.
includes? Okay.
Correct.
And since you've been on ground for now 17 days, how many homicides have occurred?
1.
One?
Yes, sir. Yesterday's.
What's the first one?
Since I've been at the helm.
It's your watch.
Certainly.
So, under your plan, what is your number one priority? Because you've talked about the statistics show that the robberies, Part 1 crimes, down. But homicides, we see them every day. You see them. So what is your plan to really do that?
Well, and as I mentioned, it's unacceptable we've had the number of homicides and shootings that we've had. And I believe that the efforts at increasing our proactivity, which a lot of that stems to getting more officers on patrol. If I've got more officers on patrol, then we're more available to respond to calls for service and to look for opportunities to reduce crime or stop crime before it occurs. That depends on having enough men and women on the streets to assist in those matters. And then relying on some specialized units that exist to address specific crime problems. We have a crime data unit that daily analyzes where crimes are occurring, where we've had upticks, and we can address those specifically with those units that we can put in the areas they need to go during that particular time of the year, that particular day of the week where we're having problems.
Chief, you said you're going to increase the amount of recruits that you're getting and looking for others that are qualified. There's a changing demographic here, many different types of communities, Latino. How are you going to recruit where it reflects the population of Shreveport? And in terms of community policing, directly affects people who cannot communicate with you in many times that are going to report these crimes. How will you do that?
We have to look closely at where are we recruiting from now. What job fairs are we attending? What schools are we attending? What neighborhoods are we going to? And look for opportunities to reach the demographics of our city that aren't being well represented. We have hired several Hispanic officers, bilingual officers. one that I know of graduated the last academy. And so we're certainly working towards that end. And we hire anybody that's qualified. So if you want to work for the Shreveport Police Department, I encourage you to put an application in, and we will do our best to have you work alongside us.
Thank you.
What do you plan to do as far as solving unsolved homicides?
An unsolved homicide means that that case is still open. And so we're always looking for additional information. As technology changes, sometimes, say 5 years ago, we may not have had technologies regarding DNA and some of those types of events. And so we'll always look at cases that are still open regardless of how long ago they occurred, if we get additional information or see an opportunity to get back on that case.
With the three, Chief, with the three juveniles right now that are suspects for violent crimes, are you looking to go more into schools where police have more interaction with children at schools to kind of talk to them about, these are the repercussions for such violent crimes and kind of curb that?
Yeah, good question. We actually have a lot of officers assigned to schools, school resource officers, school liaison officers. We have a DARE officer program. We have juvenile investigators. But part of that proactive policing renewal is to try to get officers to spend more time with citizens, with businesses, and certainly with the school-aged children. And let's get to kids young enough before they start making bad decisions and hope that they'll make the right decisions as they get older.
Chief,
Certainly.
share with them about the working in partnership, how that's already worked out, working on that burglary
Certainly.
that you shared with us.
Yeah, so what Councilman Fleury is referencing is we had a spike in burglaries in the Western Hills area of town, West Shreveport. Actually attended a neighborhood meeting, my third day in office, and we put together an operation between the Shreveport Police Department and the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office to respond to those burglaries, because that area is in the city as well as portions of those neighborhoods in the parish. Their investigators and our investigators were already working in the cases, and they got together and recognized they had some similarities in their suspects, and this week we're able to make an arrest and clear up approximately 60 of those burglaries. That's due to the combined efforts of our agencies. We work with Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office. We have a financial crimes task force. We have a Caddo Shreveport narcotics unit. We work quite often with state police. We ran a radar operation for speeders on Clyde Fant earlier this week in conjunction with state police. We have officers assigned to various federal task forces. We work with the city marshal's office on a daily basis with warrant apprehension. So we work closely with our law enforcement partners, and I'm always open to opportunities to improve that and expand upon it.
Chief, you mentioned more boots on the ground. How do you plan to continue this community involvement to get your officers speaking and talking to the community members?
It's going to take effort on both sides. So it's going to take some effort, and I mentioned this briefly at a event I spoke at the other day. 50 years ago, when officers were mainly walking a beat, there was a lot more interaction, but you had a smaller area to cover, and you had to talk to people. You were not in a police car. As technology improved and we recognized that we put officers in cars, we can respond to larger areas and get to respond to those calls quicker. The downside is now you're in a vehicle and you're not talking to citizens. So we've kind of got to get back to, let's get out of my car when I have the opportunity. Let's go inside these businesses. Let's talk to the homeowners. Let's talk to the lady that's raking her yard and introduce myself. Go to the schools when there's an opportunity and let the children see you and understand that you're a person. You're a father, a brother, a sister, a husband, a wife, just like people that they know in their lives. But it also requires the citizens that when they see an opportunity to speak to an officer or an officer is trying to speak with them, engage that officer, ask them some questions, and kind of get to know them on a little bit more of a personal level.
Chief, you have been out in the last 2 weeks. I've seen you at various crime scenes. Has your perception changed as the new leader of the Shreveport Police Department? Have you gotten some new insights being out among your officers in the last 2 weeks?
I wouldn't say that I've gotten any new insights. It was important to me throughout my career to try to stay in touch with everybody in the police department. Even when I worked in some specialized units, I tried to stay involved with what was going on as a whole. And within the last year at the Chief Administrative Assistant position, it was even more important because I was stuck in an administrative role. So I tried to get out in the streets more often, ride out with the patrol officers more often, and kind of stay out there. It's important to me, and I've said this to everybody, I'm Ben Raymond. You know, my position is Chief of Police, but I'm Ben. And so if you want to talk to me about anything, you can certainly do that. I don't want to appear to be at a level in which you can't, speak with me about things that are important to you. And so that's one of the reasons I've been out there, and you're going to see a lot more of me out in the streets.
Thank you.
Chief, and again, you are old school from what I understand, narcotics and things of that nature. You're getting back to basics. Was there a time in the past 4 years that you saw there was an issue with leadership in the police department, and was it incumbent upon you to bring that awareness to the mayor?
Yeah, certainly have never had any problems with leadership in the department. I've worked under 6 or 7 chiefs throughout my 19 years, and each of them brought their own leadership philosophies and their own goals to this job. But I think each of them left it in a better position when they came, which is all we can ask of anybody.
Well, all I'm asking is, did you feel that Chief Crump was not doing an adequate
I did
job?
not. I did not.
Okay.
A lot of times the public doesn't seem to understand that the small crimes that you're investigating, traffic offenses, burglaries, little things like that, may lead to discovery and solving bigger crimes.
Mhm.
Are you going to make efforts with your CLOs and others to have the public understand that even better, that the Terry stop is a tool that you're going to be using?
To answer your question, yes. I think we do, and I've mentioned this before, I believe, we do a good job at training our police officers. Maybe we can do a little bit better at educating the public as to why police officers respond and conduct themselves in the manners in which they do. The Terry stop specifically is misunderstood, I think, by the public as a whole. So we will certainly, I would participate in any opportunity to explain, some of our tactics, why we utilize them, and their legalities within the Constitution and state Louisiana laws.
Final thoughts that you had about your position, and by the way, should the mayor go back in as the mayor, would you accept the position as chief permanently?
I would accept the position. And no final thoughts. I do want to thank everybody for coming and ask that you would put out our message to the public, and I'll be available if you have any additional questions following the conference. Thank you.